Hey, if you're going to San Francisco.
That's a clip from this amazing movie this film I had a chance to watch recently that made its world premiere in the Sundance Film Festival earlier this year, and it won a special jury prize for creative collaboration as well as best directing. And it tells the true story. Tells a story about a young man whose grandfather built a Victorian house, Heather, in San Francisco, and due to lows in the family economics, I believe, they lost that house. But the grandson, still admired that house and had an affinity for that house and wanted to preserve that house because his DNA was installed in all of that, in the history from that time period. And you watch him try to preserve the house and actually reclaim the house and actually move back in the house when the current owners went through deliberation after somebody died, which you see a lot of that. And the film speaks to what we're seeing happen in the Bay Area, and we have for years now in forms of gentrification, specifically right now into San Francisco, where we learn that the black population has decreased by a third in San Francisco. A lot of these amazing places, amazing neighborhoods that kind of created the identity and the character through a lot of ethnic diversity, economical diversity. You're starting to see a certain level of homogenization or uniformity that we're seeing take place in the Bay Area, where we're losing all of those intangibles that made it what it is now. And the people who came from these neighborhoods are being priced out, kicked out, displaced. And this story is about somebody who's here with us right now who actually plays himself, a fictional version of himself in this story. The one and only Jimmie Fells is here.
Yes.
And his grandfather, Jimmie Fells, is the person that built the house that's at the center of this film. And making his directorial debut, the one and only Joe Talbot is here. Did I say it correctly, Joe?
Talbot, yeah.
That's good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, man. And they're both from the Bay, Heather B.
Oh, gosh.
And they're both excited about what's going to take place tonight in the city of Oakland, California.
I didn't hear them say that. I didn't hear them say that.
Oh, the premiere of the movie. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
And the Oakland Warriors,
Oh, boy.
who were first the San Francisco Warriors,
Right.
taking on the Toronto Raptors, whatever, Joe. Taking on the Toronto Raptors. Please welcome them to the show, man.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Who was your grandfather, Jimmie?
Jimmie Fells. He was a pastor. He was well known in the neighborhood in the Fillmore. He had several properties, but it was just he was very well known, and he's just he's my idol. He's a person that I always wanted to build a legacy for him, because I feel like that name is I have his name, and I had to do something.
That house that's at the center point of this film, The Last Black Man in San Francisco, when was it built?
It was built. Man, I'm trying not to. Yeah, but I don't want to give away.
Okay, what time period can you?
Probably.
That's one of the twists in the film.
Yeah,
okay.
I really don't want to.
I
Yeah,
kinda threw that at you.
I feel like,
CBS.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's like, I feel like that's the
That's what he
best
was
part of
trying
the
to get
movie
at.
is all the surprises you get, sort of thing. So yeah, I'm
okay,
sorry, man.
but it was built by hand built. He built the house himself. You don't want to give that up either.
Yeah, it's like because it's just a weird.
I watched the film, right?
Yeah. Oh, you did watch it.
Yeah, I watched it.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
So
Yeah.
you want me to not ask too?
Yeah, no, I mean you can just that particularly is just something I don't.
I think that's when we were trying to hold off on, because there's that discovery, in the film of
It's a
the
twist,
sort of
especially at the end of the film.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a
Yes.
thing.
Okay.
I feel like it would just hit harder if you.
But that is the story that.
Okay. Okay, let me take a different approach. You both grew up in San Francisco?
Yeah.
What parts?
We met actually in the neighborhood. So I grew up Mission Bernal.
Okay.
And we met at Precita Park when we were kids.
Okay.
And we basically started, making movies and music not that long after that.
Okay.
Jimmie starred in the movies that me and my brother made when we were kids. I'm in one of them. I'm terrible. That's my first and last time in
Acting.
front of the camera.
Okay. Yeah.
But we started talking about this story, as teenagers, and then about 5 years ago, we officially started trying to turn it into a film.
The Last Black Man in San Francisco. Why did you decide to title it that? Can we talk on that?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
so that's just kind of how I feel sometimes. You know, what I mean, it wasn't. It's obviously not literal. There is black people there, but it does often feel like when you're walking around, like you don't see as much. You know, what I mean, especially as much growing up. You know, you always saw black people all over the city, everywhere, but now it's like, you know, they're pretty much confined to those specific sort of neighborhoods, like Hunters Point, where most of the black people are at, and you know, so it's like sometimes it's like, you know, I see a black person in a restaurant, I'm like, hey man, they like, you know, I'm like, yeah, I'm just trying to say what's up because I don't really see y'all nowhere, you know. So yeah.
I once in the 90s moved to San Francisco for a stint. I moved to the Fillmore area. I was on Pine Street in Fillmore. Unfortunately, Heather, I had a Jeep Cherokee back then, and people kept breaking into it, so I had to move again.
Oh, that's big. Yeah, that's big, especially in that area. They call it bipping, but they're breaking your car quick over there.
Yeah, they stole my big CD collection. I got pissed, so I moved to Bayview, and I was on Randolph and Victoria, which at that time was a pretty rough area, and somebody threw a Rottweiler in my backyard that they didn't want. And you know how the houses are. The houses are joined by the walls.
Yeah.
And so the only way I could get the Rottweiler out my house is walk it through the back and through the front door. It wasn't no exits in the place. I moved back to Oakland, but it's the point I'm making.
Wait, time out. So they threw a live dog over the wall?
What do you say when it was ravenous?
Oh, man.
They had
Yeah,
the rabies.
foam.
He had
They got the
rabies?
foam in his
Oh,
mouth,
hell
and they didn't
no.
want it no more.
Well, I
And
mean,
somebody
yeah, nobody
threw it
would
over the
want
fence.
Oh.
That's crazy.
They threw Cujo in your backyard.
Yeah.
crazy.
But I will say, being in those neighborhoods, it was a lot of culture. It was a lot of diversity. There were a lot of people struggling at that time. On Pine Street, you wasn't struggling, but when you made that left down Fillmore, you were struggling. What does it look like now in those areas?
You know, it's super gentrified in the Fillmore, but you know, it's still like, you know, if you go McAllister and Fillmore, you're still gonna see everybody right there across the street from McDonald's hanging out, and but it's just like that little pocket. You know, the Fillmore used to have so many black people, and now it's just like it's only a couple little areas where they kind of concentrated to, and it's like more dogs and people walking their dogs and stuff like that. You wouldn't really see no white people walking their dogs through Fillmore. You know what I mean? Like back in the day. So, but
Not the dog Sway had.
No, not the
They
Rottweiler.
I know, and I know ravenous Rottweiler, but yeah. So it's just different. It's just not as colorful.
And that's the thing too. Even the Mission, you know, I spent a lot of my time growing up. It was like that area is ground zero. It's been hit so hard because, well, for a few reasons, you know. It's also just its proximity to Silicon Valley, you know, and so, you know, you grew up with a lot of those Victorians were owned, you know, in Fillmore, Mission, Black and Brown owned, but you have white people in San Francisco who I think don't even know that history.
They don't know.
They have no idea, you know. They associate those homes with upper middle class white people because they don't know that's such a huge part of the history of the
They don't
Fillmore
want to know.
Mission.
That's the problem, is they don't want to find out, and they don't want to educate themselves about who was there before them and the lifestyle and the culture of San Francisco, you know.
Why is that important that you feel they should know and people should educate themselves?
Well, because that's what makes the gentrifying bad, in my opinion. It's like you should never, if you make enough money and you're successful, you should be able to move wherever you want to move, but you should educate yourself so that you become a part of wherever you're going, as opposed to just coming in, you know. So that's why I feel like that's important.
Joe Talbot is here. Also, Jimmie Fails from the movie The Last Black Man in San Francisco, which was really beautifully shot. Like watching it, even from the first scene, I was immediately struck by you guys, the cinematography, the locations, the stylized way you guys chose to shoot it. How did you pick locations and the certain location? Well, can we talk about some of the locations?
Yeah,
okay.
Well, no, of course.
What would
That's not part of the story.
Okay.
So that's all good.
I kind of feel like those locations
They
because
are, yeah.
you guys are showing the beauty of San Francisco.
Yeah,
Right.
we
You
definitely
know.
felt that was important. I mean, location scouting is something that we unofficially did for years. You know what I mean? It's just trying to, and you gotta. It was hard because, you know, the locations change so quickly. There's so much construction going on, and it's like you film somewhere and then you come back and it's like it's already completely different. So
even since we finished shooting, some of those locations don't exist anymore, and we finished about a year ago. That's what's crazy about San Francisco right now. But it's like Jimmie said, growing up there, everyone who's from San Francisco knows the San Francisco movies because you're proud of those movies, and yet not a lot of them touched on the parts of the city that we spent our time in. And so we wanted to show the beauty of those places, you know. I think also in part to what Jim was saying earlier, like, you know, those places are inherently, a lot of them, cinematic, you know. And so growing up, you know, being kind of storytellers, that was one of the first things we did, was like sharing stories. You walk around those places and they just have such a big, you know, impact on you and your imagination. So we wanted to try and capture them too before they all disappeared, you know, which feels almost real.
It felt important too for just the people that are from San Francisco to see, you know, something that they could be like, wow, you know, because usually when movies are out, you know, Mrs. Doubtfire or whatever movies that were there, it's like places that nobody is really at a lot, you know. It's like ain't nobody chilling in Pack Heights, you know. It's like you want to see those places that look familiar, and it's like, you know, at the premiere, it's like you could see the people who are just like, wow, man, they really in the mission, they really in Fillmore, they really in Hunters Point. So you getting all these different places for all the natives to, you know, all the natives from wherever they're from to just kind of, you know, feel proud about that, because everybody that's from San Francisco is proud to be from San Francisco.
Absolutely. Pack Heights, you mean Pacific Heights?
Yeah.
Okay, so y'all did a little insider trade. That's insider trade. Real quick, the gentrification that's taking place, San Francisco was also known for having a lot of homelessness, people in the streets in those areas, Hunters Point, Bayview, all these different places. And I remember seeing a map where it showed all the human feces that you could find in the streets, you know, in San Francisco. But most of these in Oakland too, because homeless people don't always have a bathroom.
Well, that's the thing.
They don't got a
with
home.
those
They don't have a
maps,
bathroom.
you know, right? That's the thing with you know, you see people coming there who are more concerned with, you know, the feces than the people who that feces came from.
Okay,
that's the problem, I think, with a lot of what's happening in San Francisco. You know, you walk down Market Street, you have these companies that are there getting huge tax breaks from the city, and you know, some of their employees walk outside, step over people, needles in their arms, who are just crying for help. Some of those people lived in the apartments that the new residents have moved into, you know? So I think, again, that's why it's important to have an awareness of what came before you. If you just move somewhere and you can afford this exorbitant rent, you know, to not think about why someone else can't, you know, especially because, like, those are the people that made San Francisco great when we were growing up. Yeah. All the characters in the city. San Francisco's been a place, it's a safe haven for people to come when they can't fit, you know, into their small towns, other parts of America. They come as far out west as they can to be, you know, their full selves. And those people, you know, are the ones who I think are being priced out right now.
They're being priced out. So where are they putting them?
I mean,
people are driving
all outside the bay. You know what I mean?
6 hours away, 7 hours away.
Sacramento,
Stockton,
Modesto,
where Iyanla just had her event.
Manteca.
Hercules, like just
Clear
places
Lake.
that's just, you know, just super far away, and they're just going more and more.
That's the thing too, you know, in the Mission in particular, again, it was like the people who worked at the taquerias when I was growing up often lived above them or close to them. You know, people who worked in those shops were also living in the neighborhoods. Now people are coming, you know, 3-4 hour commutes every day into the city to work there because they can make money there, but they can't afford to live there anymore. So even the parts of the city that look like it's preserved parts of the community, that's also sort of not entirely true, because those people at night can't afford to go home in San Francisco. They have to go, you know, 5 hours away.
Like placeholders. You hire them to stand there and serve the food during the daytime, and at nighttime you got to get out.
Pretty much.
DB, you watched the movie too. You have a question?
Yeah. So there's a lot of attention right now in the Bay Area. I mean, you have Ryan Coogler, you have Boots Riley, you have Daveed Diggs and Rafael Casal, you know, who all did films that were based, showing a light on, you know, either Oakland or the Bay Area just in general. So do you think it's a good thing that Hollywood and people from the outside get to see what's happening and get to see the realism of, like, the gentrification and the, you know, police problems and all these other things? And will it help sort of maybe shift the way things are happening now?
Yeah, I think it's very important, and it's also, you know, there's so many great artists in the Bay that are, you know, that are getting pushed out, but there's tons of great creative people in the Bay that aren't getting, you know, their right shine. There should be a lot more people in the industry from the Bay, because we have our own unique sort of style and way of doing things. We have influenced a lot of stuff, you know what I'm saying, in the media and music and all that. So, yeah, I think it's about that time, really.
That's the thing too, that one of the things I'm proud of. I mean, obviously, like, you know, a lot of this is pulling from Jimmie's life and, you know, him being a native San Franciscan. But even the guys who are in Hunters Point in the film, they're all native San Franciscans. A lot of them are musicians as well. They're like multi-talented people. And I think part of this movie, one of the things we got to do was, you know, shine the light on just how much talent there is in San Francisco, not just in these younger guys, but also people like San Quinn is in the movie, Willie Hen, you know, these people that
you
we
gotta
grew
tell
up looking
people
up to.
who San Quinn is.
The legendary
San
Quinn,
Quinn,
the greatest rappers in San Francisco history, Willie Hen as well, you know, and Jello Biafra, you know, who's been fighting the good fight in San Francisco for a long time. So that was important too, to what you're saying, so people can see. I mean, one of the things I was so proud of these dudes is like some of those guys who are in the kind of, we call them the Greek chorus in Hunters Point, they're people we grew up with, you know. 3 of them are guys I've known since they were shorter than me, and I'm not that tall, you know.
Okay.
And this is their first time with a big camera in their face, the hot lights, the crew, and they were incredible, you know. But again, it just speaks to the talent, I think, that's in San Francisco right now waiting to be discovered.
Joe Talbot is here, as well as Jimmie Fells. The movie is The Last Black Man in San Francisco, in theaters this Friday, June 7th.
Hey guys, even though this goes back to January, but still, congratulations on having this world premiere at the Sundance Film Festival. That's a huge feat, not to mention walking away with 2 awards. Can you talk about like the process of a film getting world premiered? Like, I don't know if it's just as easy as like applying or reviewing, or if you need to have a special network that gets, you know what I mean? Like, what is it? Because there are so many different filmmakers out there, and Sundance always seems to be like the prize arena for the premiere. So how did this happen?
Took us 5 years.
Yeah, man. It was, you know, you know, people just think it's just, you just do it and it just happened or something. It's like we were working so hard on this, and I think it's in part the people that we met along the way that helped us create this. So, I mean, it's really the collaboration. Just like we won that award at Sundance. I believe we're the first recipients of that award for creative collaboration, which is like the best award we could have got, because we couldn't have done it without everybody else. So I think, I mean, it's really just the people that came on and helped, that helped us do that. So I always encourage, you know, if you're an aspiring filmmaker, then you gotta make those connections. You gotta meet those people and those good people that help you do that.
Where did you meet them? Is it like a matter of?
Well,
I mean,
go ahead,
they reach out. You know, it's like we did the concept trailer. We met, you know, Kalia Neal, who's from Oakland too. You know, and we met a lot of people, and Rob Rickard, and you know, so you know, you got to put your stuff out there too, and for people to reach out though at the same time. So. I don't know.
Yeah, just to elaborate on that, I mean, one of the first things we did, we knew that we were going to have a hard time making this movie. I'm a high school dropout.
Okay.
Jimmie's only ever started.
What high school you dropped out from?
School of the Arts,
School.
Soda. Yep.
Okay, didn't work for you, huh?
You know, it's funny, is I was in the film department there, and, you know, I think now it looks like, you know, it's all wound up working out, but at the time I was just stupid.
Okay,
you know, I was just
great.
stupid and young. I would not recommend it. It was a dumb idea.
Okay.
But you know, so that was one of the things that made it hard. Is like, well, who's going to trust us to make this movie? Why would someone give us money to make this movie? And so it was a long process of, you know, the first thing was like, well, let's show Jimmie on screen. Let's show this story, this incredible story that's inspired this movie. So, and that being Jimmie's story. So we shot this very funky concept trailer. I'm on a camera like that, hanging out of my brother's car, filming Jimmie skate through the city. We put it online, not knowing what would happen, and we started getting emails from all over of people saying, you know, I'm in London, I relate to this. I'm in Paris or New York or New Orleans. Like, these things are happening here. And it was the first time we realized, oh, this isn't just San Francisco. This is everywhere. But we started also getting letters from people in the Bay, and like Jimmie mentioned, one of them was Kalia Neal. Kalia, you know, your friends and family are always going to support you, but she was one of the first real people outside of that who like took a risk on us and was like, I want to help produce this. So she became my producer, and you know, others came on as well, and that became part of this like little film family we formed over those years, and we kind of cried on each other's shoulders when we got those no's. it was as important emotionally having people there to help us get through it as it was creatively, because it can be lonely trying to make movies in San Francisco. You mentioned those people in the Bay who are also really inspiring, but even Oakland can feel, as you know, so like a long ways away, you know, from San Francisco. And so being in the city, not knowing any other filmmakers, it was like these people that banded together. And then a couple heroes along the way who we looked up to, like Barry Jenkins, early on, before he made Moonlight, was living in San Francisco, and he read early drafts of our script. I just reached out to him cold. It's a good lesson in just write the people that you look up to. And he was like, he read drafts, he gave us notes, and then he was like, "Oh guys, I'm not going to be as available because I got to go shoot this movie in Florida."
Call Moonlight.
We were like, "Oh, good, Barry, good luck, man."
And so on, and here you have it.
Good luck.
Academy Awards later. Here we
At
are.
least you wish them good luck.
Yeah. Mike Muse, real quick.
Hey, fellas, I have a quick question for you. I'm always the glass is half full, forever the optimist. But there's something about when it comes to San Francisco and Oakland with gentrification, and if it was being priced out, I'm actually the glass is half empty, like for the first time, right? I just don't know what is possible because of the economic boom of Silicon Valley, because of the housing crisis. Even for those who are employed in Silicon Valley are having quote unquote difficulty. I put that in air quotes. Right. So what is the feeling and the morale like on the ground? You know what I mean? As you guys have done and shot this movie, clearly this is a big issue for you guys. Like, I don't want to be that general question of is there hope, but like, do people feel like it's a lost cause and they're just fighting for basics?
No, there is hope.
I think there is hope. I mean, we saw hope at the Castro premiere. That was like a big moment of hope because there were so many people from all different neighborhoods there and just in support, and it just kind of felt like old San Francisco for once. So, you know, all you can do is really hope that the movie is sort of a rallying cry, you know, and that you just at least start the conversation so that you can take action on, you know, trying to preserve what is San Francisco and what's beautiful about it. So I think there is hope, but it's it's a lot of work to be done for sure, but there is hope, I think. Yeah.
It's interesting. One person told us, this was really inspiring, like, because I think we're critical of the city because we love the city, and so, but that battle still feels like one that's worth fighting because I think, like Jimmie said, there's hope. We've had these events in San Francisco where we see enough of old San Francisco that it feels like, okay, there's still something here worth fighting for. One person told us after watching the movie that he and his partner in LA were feeling the same things, and then they were like, screw this, and they put down a down payment on a house because they're like, we're going to stay here, we're going to fight back in that way. So those kind of stories are really, they're wonderful to hear because I think, it's not just in San Francisco too, right? It's like people in, LA and New York here, right, are in different ways
going through the same things.
Yeah, it's happening everywhere, man. I mean, this is so many places.
We got to invest, Diff. We got to buy back the block, yo.
Yeah.
When Nipsey said buy back the block, we got Stella on the line from San Francisco. Stella, you got a comment you want to make?
Yeah, I do. I actually grew up at Reseda Park. My grandfather owned a lot of property from 345 Reseda on up to Korean Deli. And you go down there today, and it's a completely different neighborhood. It used to be like a melting pot. You would have Filipinos and blacks and the Samoans and the Mexicans, and you go down there, and the stores on the block are now like pet stores. Come, leave your a dog walk. It just doesn't have the same feel, and it's very sad. And I just happened to be a lucky one that ended up with a house in Excelsior from my grandmother.
Wow.
And even coming out here, where it used to be a lot of Asian, it's turning to be a lot of just white people and rich people, and everything's going up for sale around us. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you remember like the Saba and Brian's family, Ethiopian family that owned the corner store that is now Reseda Park Cafe. I spent a lot of time in that corner store.
Yes, that was Right Way. The Right Way in Abbott is now the dog store.
Yep. Damn. Stella, thanks for your call and your perspective. You're a citizen.
That's Sway in the morning.
I want to encourage everybody to really check out this film. You guys did a great job shooting it. It looks great. Even the relationship between Jonathan Majors, who played Montgomery Allen, and you, I thought showed like a whole different persona that people don't normally see of how we are in the Bay Area. It's not just we're not just monolithic people. We're not one dimensional. These guys were kind of like what we consider nerdy guys or whatever, and lived in the hood,
skateboarding
around, and it just shows all these just these different layers to who we are in the Bay Area. And I want to congratulate you guys and thank you for making this film. All right, and continue success. You can always come up here, man. This is your platform. If you don't get any others, you got this one. All right, The Last Black Man in San Francisco in theaters June 7th. What's y'all social? If people want to continue the conversation, you got social.
It's just my first and last name on Instagram. I'm just Jimmie Jimmie Fails Failsiv, like Roman numeral 4.
Okay,
so
cool.
Jimmie Fails.
And I'm Technicolor Talbot.
Technicolor _ Talbot.
Talbot.
Yep.
Congratulations, gentlemen. This Friday, June 7th, check it out. The Last Black Man in San Francisco.